This is Access Houston on 97.9 The Box.
Good Sunday morning. You're listening to Access Houston. I'm your host, KG Smooth. Oh, this is an honor and a privilege to have in the studio. He's an actor. He is an activist, and all around just incredible guy, Mr. Luis Guzman. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Oh, man. And I'm glad that you came along with the lovely and my friend, Jacquelyn, from Real Beauty, Real Women. How you doing, honey? Good to see you.
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
So, Luis, I am very familiar with your work, but you are so passionate about civil issues, things that are plaguing this nation, be it homelessness, be it poverty, be it sex trafficking, trying to stop corporatism, all of this good stuff. Where did that come from?
Well, I tell you, it started with my mom. When I was a kid, after dinner, my mom would bag up all the leftovers, and she would send me under the bridge to give it out to homeless people. Mm. And, I mean, that's where my calling came from. When I was 16 years old, I moved into a commune with a bunch of my friends and on the Lower East Side of New York City, and we were involved in trying to save the neighborhood because the neighborhood was being burnt down by greedy landlords who did not want to provide heat or hot water to tenants. Mm. And that to me was like my real first experience of being frontline as far as being an activist. Mm-hmm.
And you participated in a piece that Jacquelyn produced called Not in My Backyard, where you dressed up as a homeless person and were pretending to be homeless. Can you talk about that experience and what that was like?
Well, I just like to say I wasn't dressed up as a homeless person, and I was not pretending to be a homeless person.
You weren't.
I was that homeless person.
You were, yes.
I started out with like $1.30 in my pocket and change, and for 3 days I had to figure out my survival in the streets of New York City in March. And the first night I slept in the street on a piece of cardboard in a sleeping bag. The second night I slept in a homeless shelter. And just experiencing what homelessness really does feel like. And it's really lonely. Mm-hmm. You become a faceless person. People don't want to make eye contact with you. You get more attention from people's dogs than actual people. Meaning dogs will growl at you, bark at you, and, but there were certain moments that I experienced the goodness of humanity, of our humanity. I walked by a hotel, doorman just kind of stuck his hand out and gave me $3. I didn't even ask for it. I see another guy walking with a box of pizza, his leftovers. I asked him, can I get that? He gave it to me, didn't even look at me. Again, it was a real psychological battle because like on the into the second day in the city of millions of people, you felt so lonely, so unwanted, and yeah, anytime I could have just said, you know what, I'm done with this, I'm going to go home, take a nice hot shower. But I had to go through the whole thing because I wanted to put a face on homelessness. I mean, this is America. You go to a place like Los Angeles and you see Skid Row and you do not believe, oh my God, there are 4, 5, 6,000 homeless people and within this 10-block radius. And this is America. I learned a lot. I learned also because you're homeless does not mean you're an addict or you're an alcoholic. You could have emotional, mental breakdowns. You could have been that person that was taking care of your mom, your dad, and they died and it was their home and you can't afford it and stuff like that because you couldn't go to work because you were taking care of them. You could have suffered some kind of relationship issue that led to a mental breakdown and stuff like that. So there's like a lot of factors of why people become homeless. It has nothing to do with laziness. A lot of it has to do with social economics of our times. And we live in this country, and the homeless population is growing.
Yeah.
It is growing because so many urban cities are being gentrified. Look, man, when I was 22 years old, I had a studio apartment and it was $175. And I could afford it.
Right.
And I could still put food on my table, have some nice clothes and stuff like that. Nowadays, a 22-year-old is like, you're going to get a studio apartment for $1,400, $1,500, $1,800, depending what city you're in. You can't even get a job that will take you past 30 hours a week because that employer does not want to provide you with medical, dental, 401ks and stuff like that. So you got to, as a young person nowadays, you got to have 2-3 jobs just to make ends meet, or you live in a 2-bedroom apartment with 4 other roommates.
Mm-hmm.
You see? And so many of our young people nowadays that do go to college, that do have that opportunity, well, they're graduating with a college mortgage. Yeah. You see?
Wow.
So here you are, and you just graduated, whether it's a bachelor's degree or master's degree, and you got a $1,200 a month nugget to pay off that tuition. On top of that, you got to get an apartment. On top of that, you got to feed yourself. Mm-hmm. On top of that, you might have to take mass transit. On top of that, you might have to pay just to have a health plan. Mm-hmm. So there's a real social, economical imbalance in this country that is not being addressed. So again, my whole idea of going homeless, I just wanted to put a face on it because it's real. Mm-hmm. It's real, and it just changed my whole view of how I look at homelessness and homeless people, because you got to put a face on them, because you got to realize the reality. Someday that could be you, that could be me, that could be someone you love, someone that you grew up with, someone that mentored you. It could be at any time your life can change that quick.
Mm-hmm. You're listening to Access Houston. We're talking to actor and activist Luis Guzman, who is here today. It's such an honor. What brought you to Houston this weekend?
Well, I came down because Jacquelyn Aluotto invited me down, and I was given awards by the city of Houston, and I was given a congressional award, and
he got his own day.
I got Luis Guzman Day in Houston, Texas, but I got here like about 8:00 at night, so I only got it was like Louis Day for like 4 hours for me. But also because I just wanted to support the causes down here, because I understand down here, Houston is the hub for sex trafficking.
It is.
I can't believe that.
I couldn't either. And I learned from this young lady.
And again, this is America. We're supposed to be protecting
our children,
families, protecting
our girls,
our children. Mm-hmm. Protecting our girls, our young men.
Our boys,
that fall prey to this stuff. And you got to wonder what sometimes legislative people are doing and not doing, because they're not addressing this. There needs to be laws implemented. There, some kind of a strategy, a real life strategy to address this, to take this head on. Because, man, you know what? $150 billion industry of children being used as sex slaves. Is this America?
I don't know what that is. It's beyond what my mind can even fathom, and how they get caught up into it. Some of them just slip into it. Some of it is systemic through foster care and some of the adoption agencies. The things that I've learned, it's just it's unfathomable.
Well, the system does fail, and it is failing. I don't know if you know this, but before I became an actor, I was a social worker in New York City, and I was working with teenagers between the ages of 17 and 21. And some of my clients in my program were young people, young men and women in foster care. Mm-hmm. And when they turned 18, the system cuts them loose. And sometimes some of these young people don't have families out there to go to.
So they're out on the street.
And they're out on the street. And it's like, you know what? If that system is not preparing these young people for how to survive out there, how to get a job, how to continue their education, how to get a place to live, then it's a failure.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? There's billions of dollars that go into a foster care system. And if some of that money is not being used on job placement, on job training, on providing an education, a good college education to some of these young people, again, and it just goes back to the same thing, it's a failure.
Mm-hmm.
So who's addressing that?
Right.
We as activists are the ones that are addressing that. We are putting a voice to this. We are putting a face to it because it's important, man. We are the people on the front lines, you know, and the saddest thing to see, man, is also a kid not coming home to their family because they've been victimized by this whole industry.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Jacquelyn.
I wanted to make this point, KG, because I want to start sending you every time a girl of color goes missing. Because the point that one of the girls made when they flew in from New York is, so everybody knows who Elizabeth Smart is.
Yeah.
She's a white woman that went missing. Name one black girl that you've ever heard of all over the news famous that has gone missing. When we know hundreds of thousands of black children and children of color have gone missing. And so we need to change that narrative. And the narrative needs to start with us, that every time I find out that a child in foster care goes missing, I'm going to send you their name, and hopefully you can at least acknowledge
I will speak
them.
their name.
Thank you.
Oh, I will definitely speak their name.
Because again, young women of color, whether they're black, Latina, Asian, even white young girls that come from poverty and problem homes, you know, I mean, it affects the whole society of our people. And again, you know, we talk about homelessness, we talk about the sex trafficking, we talk about young people that can't afford to pay for their own health care. We talk about young people who graduate with a college mortgage. You know, I mean, really, America, especially the people in Washington, D.C., they got the priorities way wrong.
Messed up, because it's all about that mighty dollar. So we have a very...
And please understand, this is not talking... We're not talking about handouts.
Right.
Because, you know, in Washington, D.C., they already give handouts to people that don't need handouts.
Yeah.
You see?
Oh, we saw that with the tax cut that the Republicans and the Trump administration just passed not too long ago.
And you know what? And the way they're going about it, I mean, the thing is that you're going to do something massive like that. You know what? I like to know what the key points are on this thing. You know, and they wouldn't let anybody read this bill or go over it. Let's just take it to a vote.
Let's just go.
I mean, is that democracy? No, that's not democracy.
No. I mean, it's going on right now with the Supreme Court nominee, Brett Kavanaugh.
It's ridiculous. And you know what? There is an election coming up.
Get out of my head. That was where I was going next.
There is an election coming up. And man, I want to tell this to every single young man, young woman who is listening to this conversation right now. Get your friends, get your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, your next door neighbor. Take some of the elderly people, walk them to the polling places. We got to look out for each other.
Yeah.
We got to look out for each other because in the last election, 1 in 5 young people voted. Okay? We need to change that. And we have the ability to change that. You know, don't take the attitude, oh, I'm just one vote. You know how many millions of people say that?
Right.
And you know how many millions of people could transform the direction of this country by use your power, because it is power.
Yeah.
And show these people that are incompetent, you know, that promote racism, you know, that promote inequality, that we're going to change the narrative in this country. Because if we don't, then we have no right whatsoever to complain. If you don't use your power, you can't complain, and you do have the power. And again, I reach out to every single young man, young woman, Black, Asian, Latino, white, you name it. You know, you have the power. Look out for each other. Look out for each other. Use the power of your vote.
Indeed. The deadline to register to vote, if you are not a registered voter, is October the 9th. Early voting here in Harris County starts on October 22nd through November the 2nd, and then Election Day is November the 6th. We got to do our part. You know, there's a couple of people that I see that's running, and a whole bunch of judges here in Houston that are running that I really like, and they are doing their part. Yes. We have to do ours, because these folks are out here. They are making it happen. When I look at someone like Beto O'Rourke, who has been to every single county in the state of Texas, I mean, he is doing his part. Yes. We have to do ours, because this could be the last real election as we know it if we don't do what we're supposed to do.
And also, you know, I saw the other candidate that's running for senator here, and all he's using is in his campaign is fear. And people, we cannot fear progress.
Right.
You see, that's what the Republicans fear.
Yeah.
It's progress. And you know what they call that progress? They call it radical. Well, no, it's not radical. It's real. It's real when you got people that can't afford to feed their kids, when you got young people graduated from college again with those huge mortgages to pay back, you know, when you have the issues of sex trafficking, when you young people out there can't even afford to pay for some kind of health insurance, you know, when your mom and dad have to decide, okay, we're either going to eat this or we're not going to eat that. When senior citizens have to decide, do I have to pay for my meds or can I eat today? You know, that is and that's real. That's reality. And so in order to change that, we must be progressive. We need to think progressively, you know, because to not vote is to not be progressive.
Yeah.
To vote is to vote for change, to send a message to those people in Washington, D.C., that we are fed up with these policies. We're going to take our country back. And just so we all know, America has always been a great place. Not to say that we can't get better. We will get better. But
we've been great.
It is a myth to think, oh, make America great again. Right. No, that is a myth.
Yeah. Been great. Actor and activist Luis Guzman in the studio. I know your time is very limited, so I want to thank you for stopping through and talking. Come on, Jackie, get it.
I want to just say a few things for your listeners. With the FOSTA-SESTA bill for sex trafficking, that was the one that took Backpage down. The new issue is that under the NAFTA treaty, that treaty will be a backdoor for websites like Backpage and stuff to be able to sell people again. So we need to either meet with our legislators and lawyers about either we try to amend that the NAFTA treaty won't go under that bill. We've been sitting with the roundtable of lawyers to figure out now how are we going to do this. But we have to write to Washington, because if it's going to be legal where we can sell people and children again online, that's going to be devastating to the sex trafficking movement, to the humanity movement, to the civil rights movement, and everything that Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee worked so hard for, carrying that bill and just fighting for it. And I want to thank you, KG, for being a NIMBY celebrity here, a conscious entertainer. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Jacquelyn.
And again, young people, please be the change.
Yes.
Be the change.
Be the change. Jacquelyn Aluotto, actor and activist, Luis Guzman. Thank y'all for coming on. This is awesome. This is such a pleasure. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We love you. Thank you.
And thank you for listening to Access Houston.
We'll be back with more Access Houston on 97.9 The Box.